And welcome everybody to another episode of Jacqueline Radio. I am very excited and very honored today. We are joined by one of the founders of one of my favorite bands, Echo and the Bunnymen, and the author of the new memoir, Bunnymen, Mr. Will Sargent. Will, how are you today, sir?
I'm good, pretty good, yeah. I've been jet washing all afternoon and then the electricity went off, so I had to sit down and have a cup of tea instead.
Oh, that's a bummer. Yeah, that's. I kind of.
It's very addictive, the old jet wash, isn't it? Yeah.
A sure sign of spring, right?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So, yeah, again, thank you so much for joining us. I've been a listener and a big fan since probably eighth grade, ninth grade, just over 20 years ago. And, I discovered your music in an obscure attic in Framingham, Massachusetts at my uncle's apartment. He had ocean. What's that?
I just said rice.
Oh. An obscure attic, yeah. He had a CD of Ocean Rain just kind of laying on his desk near his computer, and I just was drawn to it. Like I had the cover, you guys in the boat, and the first song I listened to was Silver, and then I listened to The Killing Moon, and that was it. Here we are today.
Yeah, good stuff. Really good stuff. It was quite interesting doing that cover. So we had to go into it wasn't a cave, it was a mine, like a slate mine in Cornwall. Really down south thing.
And can't people still go and tour that site and go there to this day?
I think so. I think you can get in there. I think you can talk to them, or I don't know whether it's. I know that you can actually play in there because there was some talk of us doing a gig in there at one point. A few, bands have done little kind of events in there and things. So, I can't remember the exact location of it, but I know it's in Cornwall.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, you guys got some really iconic covers. Heaven Up Here, Porcupine, obviously Ocean Rain, and then I think Evergreen kind of harkens back to one of the early covers too, right?
Yeah, that was the idea, to try and link them up somehow. And the car was we hired that car for the video, and we were riding around in the car. Les was driving it. The great car, the Citroen, an iconic kind of design. Really weird. You can raise or lower the suspension a little bit. You can actually change the tire by making the car lean over, and then you don't need a jack. You can change the tire. Weird.
Yeah, it's kind of futuristic looking. Like it's got like a retro but futuristic thing going at the same time, kind of vibe.
I think the gears were push buttons. If I remember rightly. Remember Les pushing buttons on the dash.
Wow.
I'm partial to the Siberia's cover. You and Ian it looks like you guys are just in like a bombed out like house or abandoned mansion or house or something. What was the story with that cover?
That was in Berlin. That was in former East Berlin. And it was we went to this like a radio station place. We did loads of photos that day. We did bloody loads have never been seen. It was an English bloke that lived in Berlin that did the cover. I can't remember his name. Nice fella. It'll be on the cover of the short. And we just went pottering around trying to find places. And I think he just got to know that place. It was still full of bullet ridden from the war and everything. Like I went over to East Berlin in about 1980. You go through this checkpoint, but you get on the train, Friedrichstrasse. No, you get on the train, you come out to Friedrichstrasse, and then you go up to this little bloke in a booth, and you have to change money to, East German marks. This was then, 30 odd years ago, and there's nothing to buy on the other side, so you can't change them back. We changed some money. It was me and Jake, our keyboard player, that went through. And it was so weird because the west of Berlin was, it's all glitzy and there's great big Mercedes-Benz signs and neon lights everywhere. It's like really opulent, like big broad streets and loads of cafes open, and shops selling great big fur coats, and you come out the other side, it's like you just step back into World War II. It's like no one around. It's all built bomb sites. There was bullet holes all over the buildings. Like, it's all changed now. It's all been redeveloped now and sorted out. But then it was weird, It was so weird coming out, and you're like, it's like a time traveling thing almost,
Kind of harkens back to Bowie's Berlin years. Maybe inspired by that a little bit.
Yeah. We loved all that stuff,
Yeah, and kind of correlating with your great book, Will. Kind of early on in the book, you talk about the effect that World War II had on Liverpool, and this was a history lesson for me. I didn't realize how devastated Liverpool was by by the Nazis during World War. I think it was 1940 to 1941, and talk a little bit about growing up in Liverpool in the shadow of the the Blitz.
Well, I wasn't alive when the Blitz was going on, but my mum and dad were.
Right.
I mean, my mum was still in Liverpool. I think she got moved to. I think she might have got evacuated at one point, But it was, Liverpool was the docks, so it was like the main route to America. Everybody that went to America used to go from Liverpool, all that stuff. So it was battered, but that's war,
Yeah, I didn't realize there was, altogether there was around 4,000 people that lost their lives.
A lot of cities in, not just London, Coventry was destroyed as well, Anywhere that there was like industry or whatever, or something that could help the war effort, they were targeting. It's obvious, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just from a strategic standpoint, sure.
Yeah.
But one of the things you really describe in your book that really stuck with me was just the buildings that have pockmarks and bullet holes, and that church that's still standing, but it was basically gutted. I mean, that's a real stark reminder of something that happened, maybe 17, 18 years before you were born, but that's not really that long, really, when you think about it.
That wasn't even that long. It was the end of the war was 1945. It was 39 to 45. It was 6 years. It wasn't 2 years, The Americans later, sorted it out, basically, There was, so it was pretty close, and everybody used to still talk about it and all that, It was although they didn't talk about it, they talked about it in a sort of almost like a nostalgic way. It was weird, I think my dad quite liked being in the army, He was just driving a truck. He wasn't, firing a gun or anything particularly. And he told me that he used to, at one point, have you heard of the Golan Heights in Israel or whatever it is, Palestine, around there? He had to drive this truck from, I think it was Alexandria to Jaffa, I think. And he was just aiming his truck with nothing in it. And he'd just be going backwards and forwards for weeks on end, And the Germans in the Gulf with their periscopes and the submarines would be looking and thinking, well, what's going on over there? There's like a build-up going on. It was just my dad smoking fags in his cab of the truck. Backwards and forwards with nothing. Goes on, doesn't it, in war? Kind of misinformation and black ops and all the rest.
Yeah, and another one of the things I wanted to touch upon, what you mentioned in the book is you took a trip to Russia, I think in '83. I know we're bouncing around a little bit here, but you went to Russia with Les Pattinson. And how did that look then, versus, the way things are now with all the, whatever you want to call it, rhetoric, propaganda, news, the posturing of the world, post-Cold War?
Well, I was quite fascinated by the communist kind of thing, and it was kind of like, cool to walk around with a Lenin badge on. You know what I mean? It was kind of a thing in the 80s. I don't know whether it was just like an anti-establishment thing or what, but And like when we went, it was a total culture shock. You know, there was hardly any shops to buy anything. No, you could just buy like posters of Lenin and stuff like that. You know, Karl Marx. Trotsky was quite absent. You never got any posters of him.
No.
Pat Stalin as well. They never used to talk about him. But it was like a sort of, it was more like an education thing. You know, went with this college. We weren't going to college. We just sort of jumped in on it. You know, it was 200 quid for 2 weeks in Russia. And it was all the flights, all the food. And we went on the train a couple of times, you know, not a sleeper train to different places. It was brilliant. It was like, I'm glad I went when, you know, I'm glad I saw it, how it was, you know, changed now. You know, then it was, you know, it was commie. You know?
Oh yeah.
It was proper commie, you know what I mean? We had a chaperone and everything. We weren't allowed to go anywhere. Like all our day was planned out. And a lot of it was like sort of, you know, trying to like get us to see how great the communist lifestyle is. They took us to a party one time when it was like all these young communists, and it was like, come on, we've got to meet these young communists, see how groovy it is being a commie. And we're all just dressed in like over the top. It was like the Archies or something, you know, they all had flares on and crimpline, loads of flowers all over them. But they were like dull as dishwater, kind of. The stuff they were talking about was like ideological kind of nonsense, you know. Food was horrible.
No, I just know. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that last part. Will, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Food was horrible. Like we lived. Like I think at the time I was trying to be a vegetarian, so that was a bad move for a start. But we lived on boiled eggs, black bread, and little cucumbers for 2 weeks, basically. Every day that we'd load up on in the morning, and the breakfast we'd like boiled eggs and
The commie diet.
pretty grim.
That's dark.
That reminds me, one of my best friends from college, Justin, he's been to North Korea like 3 or 4 times, and he said exactly what you said. You have someone's, you know, there's a minder who's watching you, what you're doing, and then there's actually, in some cases, a minder watching the person watching you.
Probably was, yeah. There was one of the lads that was with us. He was a bit, I don't know, like, because it wasn't just people that we knew. There was like people from other, you know, it was polytechnics, like sort of like universities. There was other people that we sort of just all got thrown in together, you know, people that were interested in going, you know. And there was one lad, and he was quite a posh kid, and he had like a nice camel hair bloody coat on or whatever it was, you know, like a nice Crombie, and he'd vanish every day. I was like, how the hell's he vanishing? He used to say, I've just been to the British Embassy for breakfast. And he used to go to the British Embassy for bloody bacon and eggs and everything, and we were like, cucumbers, boiled eggs. And I don't know what he was a little bit John Le Carre. You know what I mean? He was a bit
Spy, little drummer girl.
He was something was going. He was like getting a different treatment to us. Yeah, it was a dead interesting thing. It's like a holiday. I rarely can remember it. You know, I can't wait to write about it. Actually, but I basically went to go and see the Russian space expo thing. There was like a great big museum, all the space stuff. You know, all the Vostok rockets and all that stuff. And like that was my main thing to go and see. And when we actually got there, it was closed.
Oh,
for some reason. But we thought, you know, there was some stuff on the outside. Some of it's so big, couldn't have it not in a building. So there was a few rockets and stuff outside. And took loads of pictures. I wish I took more. You know, it was a bit. You couldn't take pictures of everything. You know, you had to be a bit discreet. You could take sort of touristy things, you know, Red Square and all that. We were going to go and see Lenin in his tomb. The queue was just ridiculous. You know, we were walking across the Red Square, and we just sort of walked across the road. We didn't give a monkeys, you know, and this copper came up to us and was like giving us a good telling off because we, jaywalked. I know they kind of do that in America, but I haven't jaywalked loads in America. No one's ever come after me.
That sounds about right here in America. Yeah, like especially in New York City or Boston or something like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't notice this before, but I was watching some of the popular Bunnymen music videos, and I watched Seven Seas, and I can't help but see the Stalingrad Russian influence in that video. Is that something you kind of had input in for that music video, or how did that come to be?
Yeah, we when we came back, we had loads of posters and imagery and stuff, and it was more the porcupine video really that we had all them posters on the wall that because the bloke that made the films, Bill Butt, he came with us. He was with us on that trip. And Jake as well, our keyboard player, came with. So it was me, Les, Jake, Bill Butt, and all our girlfriends at the time. But we were separated. We weren't allowed to stay in the same room. We were all like, the girls were in one dorm and we were in the other one. There was no hanky panky going on. And we escaped one night. We were in Kazan, it's really east, it's like, and we walked across the Volga. The Volga was frozen, so there's trucks going across it and all that. We snuck out. We managed to get out, and we went into the town of Kazan, and we were the first sort of Westerners to be there since 1948 or something, because it's like a closed city and all that. That's what they told us anyway. And that was a good night, but everywhere closed at 12 o'clock. We did find a kind of restaurant, and we got some chicken. It was like it's spatchcock chicken, but it's like flattened. After 2 weeks of eating cucumbers, the chicken was great. Even I think the vegetarian thing was more out the window by then. It was kill or be killed.
All you had to do was spend a little time there, and you're like, yeah, this commie shit ain't for me.
Funny. It was brilliant as well. We met some great people in that, it was very much a kind of like, we went to like where Lenin was exiled in Siberia and all this sort of stuff, his house. That Kazan trip, that we took off from it must have been Moscow, one of these Aeroflot planes. And that was weird for a start because the seats face each other. You're like on a train. Some seats, you've got a little table in the middle and you're facing each other. And flock wallpaper on the inside of the plane, like kind of. It was just so odd. And the stewardesses were like just grumpy, kind of Miss Trunchbull types, throwing a cup of tea at you kind of thing. They weren't happy about it. It's like, today you are a stewardess. Hey. It was a trip of a lifetime, I tell you.
Sounds like it.
We were going to land in. We were meant to fly down, and the weather was so bad because it was. We went for Christmas, New Year. You see, that was the whole idea. Was it was like 1984 in Russia, like on New Year's Day, and we were meant to go to Kazan on this plane, and it couldn't land in Kazan, and we're like, they're farting around with the plane for it. Everyone's really scared because they're not the best planes in the world, And in the end, we landed at a military base called Ufa. If you have a look on the map, it's even further east. And the weather was a bit better there, it wasn't like a blizzard going on. But it was still bad, we still landed just on like an icy kind of like runway. And then they sort of put us in this barracks kind of thing, and they put us in a room first and locked us in. We weren't allowed to come out this room. It was very weird. And eventually they found us somewhere to sleep. And we all, had like a bed for the night. And then in the morning we took off and went to Kazan. It was a bit better in the morning. But it was, it was
Yeah,
good.
and playing shows in countries like that. I mean, probably for a lot of the people there who may have been your age at the time or younger who were Bunnymen fans. I mean, what was it like to meet some of them and probably some of their only exposure to culture, Western culture or stuff is through music.
Well, we
So
haven't really played in Russia. We only played once, which was it was kind of like a benefit for Chernobyl,
oh, okay.
and that was the only time we'd ever been to play. But we haven't really played. We went to Latvia, was it Latvia or Estonia? One of them. So many places, and that was right on the border of Russia. I think it was Estonia, and yeah, they're a bit scared of the Ruskies moving in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so okay, so the Bunnymen, you guys were just only there in the late '80s, and that was it. Like,
We went on holiday. it, it wasn't a gig; it was fun.
right, right.
It was a holiday in other people's misery. Tell me
Yeah.
what.
Yeah, I think it's good, to kind of bring it to today to have cultural exchange. I mean, obviously that experience you had there, meeting people, seeing what their country's like, and you flash forward today to all the horrible war that Putin's doing. But there's a big movement inside Russia that's actually anti-war. A lot of the people don't want it, but they just lock those people up, and the media doesn't really cover it. And so I think it's good to have a perspective of just regular people who are suffering in Russia and Ukraine. And we have an aunt who's from Russia, and she basically escaped in the late '80s with the clothes on her back.
Yeah, well, it's I know that it's like a popular war over there. They're not all jumping up and down going, but truth is the first casualty of war, innit? Like they say. So who knows what the hell's going on, really?
Yeah, there's so many narratives going on, and I thought it was interesting too to read how you would actually play with like World War II artifacts and like dress up and do army and stuff. We used to do that when we were kids, but we did that with Vietnam gear that our friend had. His uncle served in Vietnam. We'd run around the woods in New Hampshire with Vietnam gear.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I didn't have any clothes. We had a belt and we had a swastika flag. Used to play with that, but it was just the Germans. It was not, to us kids. It was just the Jerrys. They used to call them. I don't know what, well, that's what they were always called, Jerrys.
Right. It was almost like a something. I think you said in the book either your father got something like that from Italy, or one of your neighborhood friends got the actual bloodstained items that you guys actually had in your possession.
No, it was there was a big battle at Cassino in Italy. The Germans were all in this monastery. They were bombing the shit out of it. We had, probably bringing shells or whatever, in his truck. And eventually the Germans cleared off, but it took a while to get rid of them. And they were in the town then, and one of his mates shinned up, the outside of a post office and got this swastika flag, brought it back. And it was just something in our house for it. It was in the bottom of my dad's wardrobe. It was like a thing that he brought back from the war. And I used to put it in the front garden. I was I was only about 7, but, and I'd be like the Germans. The road would be the British. We'd be playing war,
It's almost cartoonish, kind of like an Indiana Jones movie or something.
Yeah, yeah. To us, and I think it was only really as time goes on how bad it was. You know what I mean? At the time, it was just the Germans. Nobody knew of all the horrors, did they? Really, when it was all going in, even the German people didn't know a lot of it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, talking about narratives and narrative control for sure. So, I mean, with the Bunnymen, Will, you've toured all over the world. What's that experience like? Going on 44, 45 years, and what kind of perspective do you have? Just showing up and there's throngs of people who love what you do and want to see you.
That's brilliant. It's like one of the best things about being in a band is the traveling, getting around. Until the band, I'd been to Wales for 3 days, which is basically 20 miles that way. It's just on the other side of the River Mersey. Once you get past you have River Mersey, River Dee, then you're in Wales, and it's only round the corner really. That was the only place I'd ever been, until like the Bunnymen, and then you start traveling, and that's when you start getting educated. I wasn't really interested in school at all, so it was kind of like after, it was traveling and that taught me a lot of stuff. It was great, and to go to Japan or somewhere like that, it's ridiculous. It's like, it's so different to here.
Yeah, you show up to this foreign country where you've never been before, and there's all these people who see you, they recognize your face, and they're really excited to see you. So that's going to be a pretty unique and amazing, exhilarating experience.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's absolutely crazy, and like they don't recognize me that much, you know what I mean? But yeah, they like do, at the gigs, or maybe stood outside, but I don't get recognized like that. But yeah, we did a great tour not long back, a couple of years ago. We went all over South America, Peru, Chile, these places, Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, all them. And you just think, how the hell do they know about I was in Peru? It sold out. It's great. That was really good. That was a real eye opener as well. And, Santiago in Chile was really good, really nice.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being 17, 18, 19-year-old kid when you guys played the Paradise Rock Club in Boston. And I recognized you by your hair. You walked out, and I was, just a young kid, and Bunnymen are one of my favorite bands. And I was like shocked. I was like, "Holy shit, there's Will Sargent!" And I just walked up to you. I didn't want to be awkward and weird, and you were, you were friendly and gracious and posed for a picture with us. And and then you just walked off on the street on Com Ave, and like you were just going to get a cup of tea or something. And I was just like, "Wow, that was really cool."
I was probably going next door. What's that record shop called next door? Is it Hot?
Oh, is it? I wonder if that's still there. Yeah, let me check. Record store, Palm Ave. Yeah, you had you were all bundled up in your jacket and in your ear records.
What was it?
In your ear.
That's it. In your ear. Yeah, yeah. Is it still there?
Yeah, it looks like it's 957 Commonwealth Ave. It looks like they're still up and running.
Great. It's good in there. They have all like the hi-fi and stuff like that as well. Record players and 8-track machines and things like this for sale.
Right. So when you're going in and out of all these cities, and obviously Boston is an iconic city, and Bunnymen have played there tons of times. You have like little rituals that you do, and obviously it sounds like this record store would be something you'd look forward to that Boston visit.
Yeah, because it's right next door, isn't it? It's only like a couple of doors up, so it's easy. We don't get a lot of time, tell you the truth. By the time we've done the sound check, it's getting on. Then it's like probably 6 o'clock or something, and then the gigs at 8 or 9. You haven't got a lot of time, so we have to go and get some food. There's some good Thai and Chinese places down that we always go to. Yeah, but it doesn't really you don't get a lot of time. Like, if you have a day off, it's a bit, you can have a bother about.
Eric, did you mute the mics there? Or I couldn't hear that last part, but yeah. Well, if you get some time off, Will, and you're in New England and you find yourself wanting to come to New Hampshire, I want to show you the brewery. This is my neighborhood brewery, Post and Beam, and this is their new Kolsch, Ice Cap Fire, named after Nocturnal Me.
Oh wow, that's great.
That's
what's it like? Is it good?
Oh, it's tasty. Yeah, you can have several of them very easily, and they go down smooth.
Yeah, you got that grapefruit kind of vibe to it, like kind of.
Yeah, it's got a little bready. It's a little lighter. it's not too heavy, and that's probably one of the only breweries in New Hampshire that you can walk into and Nocturnal Me, Killing Moon, Bring on the Dancing Horses is going to be playing on the radio. So the owner Erica's a huge fan. So we told her we would share this beer with you, and maybe if you guys make it stateside, we can bring you, a pack of the beers if that would interest you.
Yeah, that'd be really good.
Yeah, it's speaking of Nocturnal Me, I also can't help but notice there seems to be, on that song and of course Killing Moon, kind of an influence from like Russian folk music or your experience over there.
Yeah. It's like the balalaika thing, where it's like 16ths, that sort of thing. We like that, sort of got into a bit of that really. But it was we don't really understand the ins and outs of Russian music or anything, our interpretation of it,
Right. It was the that quick trip also coupled with the curry. It sounds like the curry was inspirational too, because like you said before, food's important on the tour.
Yeah, definitely.
Getting a good feast.
Yeah, and like when you finding a good diner in the morning, as soon as you roll out your bed in the bunk, the bunk bed or so whatever, or if you're in a hotel, finding a good place to go for breakfast is high on the list of priorities.
Yeah, definitely. And I do have to say, Will, I think my favorite song of all time is probably "The Killing Moon," and I've got the lyrics behind me, of course. And I mean, you guys, for better or for worse, that's probably the signature song. Most people would say. Are there any particular shows or movies that have used that you like or kind of recognized over the years? Or
it's been used quite a few times now, hasn't it? Yeah. Sort of Donnie Darko, but then it's an iconic little moment, isn't it? Where they manage to push bike and all that up and down that hill. Where is it? Is it in Los Angeles?
Yeah, the beginning of Donnie Darko. I think they shot that in California. I'd have to double check. Richard Kelly, I think was going to be In Excess or Bunnymen. I think for the intro, and they went with the Bunnymen, right?
Yeah, but that on the director's cut they put In Excess in there. So
I think
not as good.
No, Killing Moon's iconic, and that's really kind of around the time when I discovered you guys, like 2000, 2001, 2002. So that's kind of the generation of Bunnymen fans, that I come from. But it's really cool to see, like at the shows, you got people of all ages who, some of them have been into you, since before I was born, and others have discovered you guys through like Stranger Things on Netflix with Nocturnal Me.
Yeah, that was great. That I was watching that and I wasn't expecting it. God, they're playing our song.
Yeah, that was a cool moment. I wasn't expecting to see that either, but that's a pretty great show, and that's coming back actually. I think in a couple months. I don't know if you follow that or.
Yeah. I watched all them, and quite a few things. So American things I like Ozark. Obviously, Breaking Bad was great. What else have we been watching lately? I love them sort of. There was one on over here which was great. Called the Responder. It was brilliant. It's that Martin Freeman. He was in Fargo, the series of Fargo. He was Frodo Baggins. I think.
Love Actually.
Was it on as well?
Yeah.
And he's a copper in Liverpool, and he's like, he's not from Liverpool, but people in Liverpool get, a bit narky if the accent is not quite right. And his accent was great. So, he did really well. So, and it's a great, little series, loads of twists and turns. So I don't know whether you'll get it in America. It might be a bit too British.
Too British for us.
Check it out.
Yeah, I'd watch that. Yeah, Thermal Detonator says the Doors cover of People Are Strange in the original Lost Boys soundtrack.
Yeah.
Fan of that.
They had Ray Manzarek on that, right? He actually appeared on that recording with you guys, right?
Yeah. He was. He played with us live as well.
Oh, nice.
At the Universal Amphitheatre. he played on Bedbugs and Ballyhoo as well. Yeah, he was a lovely fella. Really nice bloke. Dead chilled. Really chilled out. Typical Los Angeles hippie kind of vibe to him,
Right,
But,
Laurel Canyon kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just watched Dave Grohl from Foo Fighters put out a documentary called What Drives Us, and that really focuses on the transportation aspect of a band. So when you think about the very early days of the Bunnymen and how you guys got to and from gigs compared to how they are now, where you are, what does that look like?
Well, it's we were in a van. The first tours in America, we were on one of them Econoline vans. Don't know, is it Dodge? Is it? Who makes them? Dodge? Yeah, Econoline, and just stuck in the van for hours on end, just like that. But we'd go to a motel then. We were always like staying in motels. It was like later on that we sort of got to the point where we could afford tour buses. So you get a bed. You could but I can never sleep on them buses. They it's too much movement. When you're trying to, it's like somebody's pushing you all the time, waking you up. You're rocking around. Like it's a bit better in America because the roads are dead straight. But over here, going around corners and it's just I always just stay up until it stops. Like up till 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever, sitting there waiting for it to stop. No point me going to bed or that I wouldn't sleep.
So you guys are potentially coming back stateside this year. What does that look like, Will, for the next American tour? If you have anything for us on that.
Yeah, we've got. Let's say I've got a thing of Peasy. We start in August the 15th, Atlanta. Let's see, loads of stuff. Yeah, Boston House of Blues on the that's on the 5th of September.
Nice.
House of Blues, yeah.
Are you going to stock up the Dr. Peppers, Will?
But what?
The Dr. Pepper?
Oh no, I don't like that stuff. It's like that flavor. It tastes a bit like Germaline.
Mike? What was Will drinking in at the Calvin in Northampton?
It's funny. Eric fixates on this. He's like, "Oh, Will had a Doc Peppy on stage, or was it a Coke? No, it might have been a Coke.
Could have been a Coke."
Yeah, I have had it, but it's a bit too. It's a bit medical.
It's like prune juice.
Yeah.
So you guys touring, Will? I have a. And us Bunnymen fans, I'm sure you see this on some of the Facebook threads. We are like, "Oh, this would be my dream set list." Can I just name a couple tunes, and if you want to give it a thumbs down or a thumbs up on whether that's something that you would play for this upcoming tour? Okay.
Hey, go on, go for it.
Okay, Nocturnal Me.
Unlikely.
I Want to Be There When You Come.
Unlikely.
Buried Alive, one of my all-time favorites.
I don't think that's in there, no. We can the sort of the hits, if you like, because we've got so many songs, and so the real sort of diehards might know what Buried Alive is, but a lot of the people that come just want to hear Killing Moon and Lips Like Sugar and all the rest of it, So it's always a difficult one. Go on, carry on with your list.
Okay, I got a couple more here. Don't Let It Get You Down, probably nay.
No.
That music video is awesome too, man. I hadn't seen that in years. That was a cool music video. You, Ian, and Les in front of that screen with the plane and on that like steel beam walking around. That's a cool video.
I don't think I've seen that one.
And the last one, which I heard you guys may have actually played recently, The Game.
Yeah, we do that now and then. We do that one now and then, yeah. But I don't think we did it on the tour. I think we rehearsed it, but didn't actually make the list.
Okay, maybe if I bring you some Post and Beam Nightcap Fire, we can get The Game on the set list in Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
So what goes into that process, Will, of building a set list? Obviously, like you said, your most well-known songs, you got to play those, but then do you have to fight to get something on there, or is it kind of centralized? Like, does Ian kind of have final say, or how does that work?
Mac does all the set list. You know, he always has. So that's the way it is. You know, and yeah, there's ones on there that you know I'd like to replace with other ones, but you know, you never get a lot into it. Like, you've got all the power.
What are some of those songs, Will, that you would like to see on the set list if you could?
You know, I'd like to see that one. Heads Will Roll. Turquoise Days. You know, that sort of thing. Like some of the weirder ones. Broke My Neck. No, not Broke My Neck. Angels and Devils. Used to like that one. And but we have played that one, you know, fairly recently. Another one I'm thinking of.
Did you guys ever do Life of a Thousand Crimes?
No Dark Things. What was that?
Have you ever done Life of a Thousand Crimes live? I'd love to see that one from the Fountain.
No.
That's a cool track. I personally think that's a really cool track. Underrated.
Yeah. Can't remember it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I like. Oh, I'm sorry. What's that?
Not too many songs. Not to keep on top of them.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot. You could turn it into like a, you know, like a hobby or a part-time job trying to put together different set lists. But you know, you guys always put on an amazing show, and you know, I'm not a particularly religious person, but you know, seeing your music and you know, especially songs I grew up with live is, I guess, it's kind of akin to a religious experience, you know, for someone like me. So it's yeah, we're very lucky and very excited to hear you're going back on the road, because the last time we saw you guys was Northampton, Mass, and Boston, Mass. Sorry, at the Orpheum in November of 2018, which I can't believe it's that long ago. It feels even longer, but
well, we've had all stuff, haven't we? You know, so it's, you know, everything's been up the wall. You know, everything's been delayed and changed and cancelled and redone, and you know.
Is there any update on a new Bunnymen album, or is that something you guys are working on? Or
we have done some tracks, yeah. We've been playing one of them live. It's called Brussels is Haunted, and yeah, it's been going down well. But you know, we haven't been in the studio for a while.
Doing some remote stuff?
No, not really.
No.
Go in the studio, do recordings.
So how do you will prep for like a big tour where you know that you're going to be away from your bed in your home for X amount of time? Like mentally, how do you get into that space and psych yourself up for that?
It just becomes like, before I go, I get really like freaked out by it, you know, and I'm thinking, I don't really want to go. I don't really want to go. And then as soon as I go and I've done all the traveling bit and the plane and everything and getting through passport control and all that crap, kind of like once you get into a couple of gigs under your belt, it's like the best thing ever, you know. And then it's like a nerves thing, you know. I'm going to get it right. I've got all the right, you know, I've got all these sounds right. There's so much to remember, like, you know, hundreds of thousands of notes in a particular order, and you don't like, if you start thinking about it, it becomes like, I don't know, too much to deal with.
Overwhelming.
It's like, you know, muscle memory, what they say, you know. But there's been times when you like, I'm just about to play, that's the wrong bit, shit. You know, that happens all the time. You know, you gotta keep on the ball with it. You know, and I try and, you know, do it as good as I can. You know, that's it, really. But I do get nervous a bit before we've done a couple of gigs. Then after we've done a couple of gigs and I know everything's working, everything's all right. Relax a bit then, you know, because it sort of just becomes like autopilot almost, you know.
Right. So you get some confidence, you get a few gigs in, you're like, you know, like you said, like riding a bike, you're back up there. Because yeah, I feel that too. I mean, obviously I've performed in front of people nowhere near the level you have, but when I've done my comedy shows and I've done my Donald Trump impersonation gigs, like I had one big gig where I had a crowd of 700 people that I was performing for, and I was nervous as shit before the show. Like I had a pit of my stomach. I felt kind of sick. But once I did get up there on stage, something like takes over the energy of the crowd, And once you hit your first few lines and they're good and you get that response from the crowd, smooth sailing.
That's it. It's the crowd. The crowd's the most important part for me. You know, if they're into it, it feeds back to you, and you're into it. You know, it's kind of if they're not into it, or if they're a bit standoffish. You know, you do get them now and then, like not often, but you know, like if some crowds are like too cool.
Yeah, we got a cool question here. Joe says, "Ask Will if he remembers what he had on his first proper tour rider."
I know him. Go back. God, I don't know. He probably knows the answer. What's the answer, Joe?
Boiled eggs, cucumbers.
It's probably
The crowd's
Yeah.
not there, Will, by the 1-2 punch of going up and show of strength, and that crowd's just they're lost.
what? What's that?
Oh, I was just to what you were saying earlier about crowds. Like if the crowd is not there after the 1-2 punch of going up and show of strength, then I don't know what to tell that crowd. You know?
Yeah. No, they've been going down really good. Then, you know, they're really good openers. You know, love doing show of strength. It's kind of unusual. You know.
It's epic. It really has an epic feel to it.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that show, The Americans? They have pictures on my wall featured in that show with the girl from Ozark's actually in it.
No, that was another. That's about the spies, isn't it?
Yeah, great show.
I love spy films. I don't like James Bond. I like where it's more like realistic. You know what I mean? Eric,
I think he just had. I don't know what he's doing. He's grabbing a. Maybe he has to. He had to step out for a sec. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm sorry. What was that?
I want to watch that Americans thing. It's about the Cold War and that, isn't it?
Yeah, it takes place in the 80s, kind of towards the mid 80s, towards the end of the Cold War, and you really get invested. It's probably 5 or 6 seasons, and the soundtrack overall for the show is amazing. But whoever was running the music on that, you know, they had pictures on my wall during one scene. It's a real hellscape. I mean, it's a great song, but the contrast with what's going on is it was a really cool usage of the song.
Well, that using music in films is a skill in itself, you know, getting it in the right place, the right thing. I've done some of that, sort of worked on a little bit of a thing, but you can change the scene completely. You do. You know,
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, I had a film class once, and we had to bring in a movie and show a scene that had iconic music, but have it muted and see how it didn't have the same impact. And I chose John Carpenter's Halloween, and they had the iconic theme, you know, that he did, and I had it on mute, and it's just a guy walking around in a mask, and it didn't have the same impact without John Carpenter's iconic score, you know.
No. Oh yeah, McKechnie's come back here, Joe. A bottle of brown ale and a curly whirly candy bar. On about. He's trying to live with the American lifestyle.
Alcohol and chocolate. Oh, that's great.
Curly whirly.
What's a curly whirly? Is it like a?
It's like a chocolate bar, but it's got holes in. And they used to be about that big. Now they're about this big. Everything gets smaller, doesn't it? Or unless you get bigger.
It's like something out of Willy Wonka or something.
Yeah, it's like a thing.
So, Will, what are you listening to now for bands? I mean, what's like? I know that's such a broad question, but what do you hear right now that makes you excited and keeps you in the game of music and inspired?
I tend to backtrack loads, really. You know, like I don't like this. You know, new bands they don't float me boat. You know, because I'm not 17 or 15 or whatever, so I feel odd like in a new band. You know, I like is the Brian Jones Sound Massacre, and they're like from like years ago anyway. You know,
Right.
I quite like the Black Angel. I like them. I like that kind of like heavy, rocky kind of stuff. That's like a bit drony, a bit Hawkwind. You know, the White Hills. I like them. Blood and the Ships. What's the like?
Spacemen 3.
Yeah, well, yeah, that goes without saying. Like, you know, Basement 3, Spiritualized, and all that stuff. Yeah, I love all that. Spectrum. But yeah, it's generally like older stuff that I, maybe couldn't afford when I was a kid. I get on Discogs and go and find it.
There's a great quote in the back of your book, actually, speaking of Brian Jonestown Massacre, from Anton Newcomb.
Yeah.
And he says, as a fan of the Bunnymen, I am terribly excited to read Will's take on the whole story, his story. And I thought it was cool, too, man, to see Flea on there, Courtney Love, Billy Corgan. I mean, all these artists that, that your music has inspired. I mean, I saw the Killers a couple years ago. I don't think there would be the Killers without your music and style.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? All these other bands do really well.
Coldplay.
Yeah. But anyway, like Flea was dead nice. He got in touch with me. Said, you want a copy of my book? And I already had it. So I showed him a picture of me reading his book. I said, saying, "Stop interrupting me. I'm reading your book."
Oh, cool. I know another fan of you guys. I don't know if I'm sure you probably bumped into him, but Mr. Doug Bradley from Liverpool.
Who is it?
Doug Bradley, who played Pinhead in Hellraiser.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's from Liverpool. I don't know if you've never met him or. So
Hellraiser was written by Clive Barker, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's Clive Barker,
wasn't he?
He's from Liverpool as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because he did that one about the. Didn't he do one about a carpet? What was that one called?
Lord of Illusions.
Could have been, and it was like some weird carpet where it was like all trippy and stuff. But I think that was based in around Liverpool.
Oh, Weave World. I think that was Weave World.
Well,
yeah. And so I met Doug Bradley, who plays Pinhead, and he just like yourself, he gets asked a lot of the same questions. But I was like, "Are you in chance a fan of Echo and the Bunnymen?" He's like, "Oh yes, I'm a big fan, and I've actually seen them several times." I'm like, "So you don't get recognized, right?" He's like, "No." And I said, "What's your favorite song?" He said, "Villar's Terrace."
Oh, great.
So the Lord of Hell loves Villar's Terrace. There you go.
I haven't seen that film for years, but I can't remember what happened.
Oh, Hellraiser, yeah. They actually are doing a new TV series and a new movie. So it's and Clive Barker's producing it. So I have high hopes.
Great.
I have high hopes. One of my favorite horror flicks. And in your book, you talk about, you're kind of influenced by science fiction and sci-fi films. What are there any that have come out in recent times that you have enjoyed or?
Sci-fi. Yeah, I quite like that remake of June. It was not a lot different to the David Lynch one, though, was it? Really, it was. I was expecting it to be quite different, but it was almost scene for scene, kind of the same. What else? Sci-fi. I've seen them all. I've seen that Astro.
Yeah.
The other one called. I do like sci-fi, but it's kind of more like the original Star Trek is my thing,
Oh yeah, the old school stuff.
Yeah, there was a TV series in England as well, which is dead relevant to what was going on now almost. It was called Survivors. And it was about a plague that was brought back by some scientist, who contracted this disease and then went to a load of conferences around the world. It's like a weird plague thing. And it was dead similar to COVID. And it was in the 70s. It was a great series. It was a really good series. And it was like, it was obviously a lot worse than the COVID thing. A lot of people died.
Yeah.
They started grouping together in kind of like militias and stuff like this. The colonel that used to be in the army would take over some castle somewhere. But keep all the people out that were like, starving outside. Good.
Have you seen V for Vendetta?
Yeah. I had the original comic Warrior, but it was in a comic called Warrior, and I had the original 10 10 copies or whatever it was. I don't know whether I've sold them or I've still got them upstairs. I've got a load of comics upstairs in the attic, in a big plastic box. So hopefully I might dig them out and have a look what I've got. I've got loads of 2000 AD. You still have that?
Yeah. And another cool sci-fi flick, actually, I just remembered was Dark City, that had Just a Touch Away in the soundtrack. That was a pretty cool movie. Did you ever see that one?
No.
It's I think Kiefer Sutherland's in it, Rufus Sewell maybe, and it's about this society that's basically run by an alien force that has these like humanoid type avatars that can read people's minds, and they have Just a Touch Away from Evergreen in their in the soundtrack. Definitely worth checking out if you like sci-fi, for sure.
Yeah, I remember that one. It was kind of like a twangy guitar thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. And Donald Trump's favorite Bunnymen song, "Over the Wall." Okay, over the wall, Will. It's such a great concept. The wall, over it. You just go over the wall,
or through it, or right through it.
Yeah.
So Will, book number 2, what does that look like? Are you working on that now? Because it sounds like you could potentially have 3 books, really.
Yeah, the plan is, like, at the minute, the plan is to do Crocodile's Heaven Up Here, and then maybe book 3 would be like Porcupine Ocean Rain. But I've started it. I'm on to chapter 3. It's when Pete the Freitas joins, so it's all about that. And his first gig was, as far as I can tell, his first gig was when we did this like weird experimental lineup with Us, Madness, and Bad Manners. So there was all these skinheads in the crowd, and we didn't go down too well. They were all throwing bottles at us, and I think that might have been Pete Freitas' first gig. So I think it was all a bit shit.
That's talk about trial by fire.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, Pete's a huge influence on my drumming as well. I've been a drummer for like 20 years, and I love his style, man. What he does with the brushes and sometimes the lack of cymbals, and just unique and I think very underrated in a lot of ways.
Yeah, well, I think drummers that know about Pete realize how great he is. He's amazing, really. Dead lucky to have him, really. The time that we had him.
Yeah, that was around the time of the Gray album, right? Maybe a couple years after the Gray album that he passed in that accident.
Yeah, it was grim time. And also Jake got killed in a motorbike accident as well. He's not a keyboard player.
Yeah, it just really hits home, man. How all of us are, we have you never know when it's going to be our time, But certainly, Pete's iconic drumming and efforts, especially with the first 4 albums. I mean, all the stuff that he did with the Bunnymen it's forever immortalized. So it's a great thing about it.
Yeah, I suppose so. It's you leave your stuff behind, don't you? So.
But 27, yeah, that's too damn young, man. It's hard to fathom that. I'm 35 and I can't even fathom that,
I know. It's crazy. I hate that bullshit 27 club.
Yeah.
Shut up.
I know.
Yeah, forever 27.
Nothing glamorous about that, that's for sure.
Nonsense, sinner.
Kurt Cobain, another one, obviously, and
Amy Winehouse.
Yeah.
Is that true, Will, that they were going to, Kurt Cobain and Nirvana was going to put in one of your tunes for the Unplugged there?
Courtney told me. They were going to do back.
Oh, cool.
And then I think they rehearsed it or something, and then they went with
Yeah, they did the Bowie tune. I think they did a couple Meat Puppets tunes.
Did they?
Yeah.
That's what she told me, but whether
who knows, right?
No, I think not. I don't think he's lying. I think maybe it was he's it was pretty amazing, that Unplugged show, though, wasn't
Yeah, that was Nirvana. We kind of grew up with Nirvana too. We were pretty young when he passed. But yeah, through the '90s, I mean, Smashing Pumpkins, Nirvana. Um, we got into bands like Green Day, The Offspring.
it?
What was that?
I just said, oh yeah, I was just agreeing.
Yeah, yeah,
Pumpkin, Billy Corgan's a nice fella. I've met him a few times. Like Chicago, generally, right that way. When we go to the Metro, that club in Chicago, he comes to see us there if he's about.
Have you caught any of his wrestling acts?
No.
He has a wrestling league, a furniture store, and like a tea house. He's into some pretty interesting stuff.
Wow. He's into wrestling, like
He did a great couple years ago.
He did what?
Oh, sorry, you froze there, Will. He did a pretty cool podcast with Joe Rogan a couple years ago, and he really kind of went into the kind of the underbelly of the music industry. He was very candid and honest about that.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you have plenty of stories yourself about the darker side of fame in the music industry. How has that been for you, Will? Like have you kind of seen some of the darker stuff or more?
Yeah, I've seen lots of dark stuff, but I don't get involved or phased by it. I think generally it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah, and it exists in every industry, of course.
Record labels. I'm not keen. I'm not a big fan of big record labels. I don't think they've sold all their artists down the river. Really, from this, the streaming services and everything. Like, they're the ones that have allowed it. They're the ones that are getting most of the money.
Yeah.
Between them and the likes of Spotify and Tidal and all them, Apple Music, what. The record labels are coining it here, but the artists are not getting a fair crack of the whip. They're just not. And I think it's a disgrace that they've been able to do that. They just sold everybody down the river, And when I do that solo efforts and stuff, there's only one on Spotify at the minute. I've been trying to get it off. It was when I did it with I did the label. I put a record out with a label called Cooking Vinyl, and they put it on Spotify or whatever. On any of my stuff on Spotify, I know it's I'm like a little, drop in the ocean, But I think if bands started refusing or demanding that they weren't on them things, because it's ruining the whole thing. People aren't making any money, so it's not all about the money, because the money comes into the production of making new records. You've got to make a living of some sort. New bands, how are they gonna? It's different for us because we can do our live gigs and we can make money that way. But a new band that can't make any money from a live gig, can't make any unless you become massive. Ridiculously massive. Beyonce style massive or whatever. That's the only time you can make any cash on these streaming things. So you're not gonna, carry it on as a career. It's just going to be I think there'll be a new thing will come along. I think there already has. I think it's already started. People are start bypassing them things and doing it themselves. And likes a Bandcamp, and also people putting stuff out that themselves. There'll be a lot more of that. People will start bypassing these big labels. I think. They're not playing fair.
Yeah, because that's your art, man. You guys are making your art, and you want to make it the best quality it can be. And I think that's one of the enduring things, about the Bunnymen is, in the '80s when you had the opportunity to use, and I think you've kind of touched on this, the latest and greatest synthesizers and cheesy kind of drum machines, and you went in totally other directions, especially with Ocean Rain.
Yeah, well, we didn't like all the current sounds that were getting used. There was a sort of a palette that everybody was using. They all had these DX7 synthesizers, which, I know it's Brian Eno's favorite synthesizer, but he knows how to program it. you know, most people are just using the preset sounds, and they're like little bells and sparkly little crystal. As soon as I hear anything like that, it's like, turn it off, you know.
Yeah, go in a different direction, kind of,
Yeah.
you know.
I like things to feel, even if it's a synthesizer, I like it to feel some sort of organic sound to it, you know, something a bit more real.
Yeah. So I had a chance, Will, probably about a month ago, to hang out with Roger Waters from Pink Floyd, and you know, he's obviously a giant for music and everything, but also he's very active politically and other endeavors. And he was speaking about the Middle East and Julian Assange. So a lot of people who watch my show are obviously big into music and that sort of thing. And you being from England, with Assange being over there right now locked up, do you have any thoughts on Julian Assange?
I don't really know a lot about it, so I don't think I'm qualified to comment. You know, I know he's a whistleblower or something like that.
Right. Yep. Through WikiLeaks.
Yeah, I don't really know what he did. Really, I know he might have compromised the security of some people. I don't know.
Yeah, they just put out all kinds of documents about misdoings, you know, by the military and intelligence agencies and all that sort of stuff. So Roger Waters is, you know, he's been speaking out about that, and it was just funny. He was up there, and Roger was reading email exchanges he had with other huge musicians and stuff, kind of, you know, saying, "Where are you on this?" and "Will you stand with Julian Assange?" And I just thought it was interesting to see a musician of his following and his you know, profile to be doing that. I mean, I definitely admire it. I think it takes a lot of guts to do that, because I mean, I'm sure, as you've seen in the 40 plus years you've been in the music industry, there's always trends with things, whether it's fashion, what kind of music you're playing, or like politics and that sort of thing. So I was just curious, you know, to hear your take on it. But
I haven't really followed his thing. I'm not really qualified to discuss it. You know, I've signed the Official Secrets Act on that one.
right, yeah, but yeah, it was cool. It was cool to meet him. I mean, Pink Floyd. Are you a Floyd fan?
I was playing Pink Floyd today when I was outside. You know, I was jet washed, and I had Pink Floyd on. I've got this, you know, nice big speaker. Um, I played all the early stuff, you know, even from like I'm a King Bee, that one. You know, Arnold Lane, Emily Play, all that. Set the controls to that. So
Yeah, you turned Lucifer Sam from one of their first albums.
yeah,
I heard you talking about that.
I
That's a
love
cool
that.
track. I'd never heard that one before until I heard you talking about it recently.
Well, that first, you should definitely buy that first album if you haven't got it. It's great. And the second one, but there isn't much Sid on it. You know, starting to get a bit out there like that.
Yeah, Sid's kind of more on the first album, right? I think he really kind of wrote and produced the first album pretty much, right?
Well, it was Hurricane Smith produced it. Who did he did it? Yeah, not like a weird Bill kind of thing. Yeah.
And yeah, speaking of Roxy Music, they just announced they're doing a tour for the first time in 10 years. They're actually coming to Boston this year. I think we might go with our buddy. So
Right.
I've never seen them. I definitely, you know, interested to see them, and Brian Ferry, of course. So they were pretty influential on a lot of your stuff, right?
Oh, I love Roxy Music. They were one of my bands when I was a kid. You know, still are. I've got a big Roxy Music section in my records there, and a Brian Eno section.
Nice. And yeah, another band, well, another musician, you know, I've heard you and Ian McCulloch certainly talk about is David Bowie. And it seems like you got a couple of albums signed by him, huh?
35
Oh,
singles.
wow.
I think he was getting a bit fed up by the end of it, because the first one is Will, best with David Bowie, and the end it's just like, I don't want it.
It's just a scribble by the end of it.
Yeah, let's see what we've got here. That's an interesting one, a Russian one.
Oh,
What's the camera?
oh, you gotta move it. Yeah. Oh, cool. Wow.
It's like a, yeah, you can hardly see the signature on that. But yeah, they were. We did a tour with them with Bowie in like 1996, and I took all my records, like in a very big box, and he signed them all. Couldn't believe it. Like I had to wait for a bit, you know. It wasn't like he did it straight away. I had got them back by the end, and he told me, and it's definitely, yeah.
Right, so you kind of had to find an opportune time.
Oh, look at that! Wow.
But like, you know, and it's all cover versions. Have you ever heard this one? Pinups.
I don't know if I have. Oh, pinups. No, I don't know if I. That looks like Ziggy Stardust era, though, right? Like mid '70s or early mid '70s.
Yeah, it was. 73, I think. 73, yeah. Yeah. He did like all cover versions of what, you know, songs what he liked when he was a mod.
Cool. Wow.
Always loved that suit.
Yeah. Yeah, we never got to see Bowie. He did actually play here in Manchester, New Hampshire in 2004, and one of my buddies went to the show, but that was I didn't make it to that one. But do you enjoy his like later stuff, like The Next Day, and then of course his last album, Black Star? What are your thoughts on those?
I've got it, but I've never actually played it.
I mean,
probably too weird for me to, you know. I remember, like, I saw a couple of them videos he did, you know.
Yeah.
And they were a bit distressing.
Yeah, Black Star. I mean, he pretty much knew that he was sick and dying with cancer, and when he did those videos, I mean, and he of course didn't announce it to the world until what, his birthday week in 2016 in January or something like that.
Yeah, it was. He sort of stage managed his whole death in a brilliant way.
Yeah.
What he was like, he was, you know, he knew how to work everything, didn't he? Yeah.
We kind of grew up with Labyrinth, the Labyrinth soundtrack.
I haven't got that. That's one I haven't got.
I wouldn't think so. I'm sure you got Ziggy Stardust, you got Low, you got all those, but probably not Labyrinth.
No, I haven't got Labyrinth.
I think it's worth a second look.
I like well, and Les, our bass player, our first bass player was like, we used to love all the dead early Bowie stuff, you know, like Love You Till Tuesday and There Is a Happy Land and all that, you know, off the really early stuff from the, like, you know, mid '60s, Silly Boy Blue, and used to love all them ones, you know. They were kind of like almost like something off a musical or something, you know. You know, he was trying to be a bit of a Tony, what's his name, Anthony Newley. Yeah, he was like he's kind of like a musical kind of singer. I think he was in Doctor Dolittle, you know, stuff like that. You know, Rex Harris.
Yeah,
just comedian, and he was actually married to Joan Collins at one point, I think.
Oh,
it was a big deal, but he was kind of like a Cockney kind of, you know, singer. He used to put a bit of Cockney kind of, you know, accent, which Bowie did as well, you know, early on.
So when you toured with Bowie, did you have any cool downtime with him, or any like time hanging out with him, or was it just quick, like you'd see him here and there?
You'd see him sound checks and all that. I'd wander around. I spilt a drink all over him, which was not very good. All that purple jumpsuit.
Oh, how he was probably graceful, right? He was gracious.
Oh yeah, he had no shoes on as well. And I dropped this glass and it scattered all over the floor. All the beer went up him. And it was just about to go on. Oh, God, I've just bottled Bowie.
Wow.
Mac was laughing his head off. He thought it was hilarious.
Have you since seen Annie Lennox since the famous fan moving story that's in your book?
No, she wouldn't remember any of that. You know what I mean? Probably nothing. You know, just go. You know, but we were like, shit. We've moved in Lennox's mid. Gonna kill us.
That's a great story.
Yeah, true though. True. We bounced it down the road. We couldn't get our stuff in. Sorry, honey, but you know.
No more I love yous. Sorry. Did she have the orange hair back then with Dave Stewart?
Yeah,
Or was she...
tourists. You know, it's when it was the tourists with Dave Stewart and that.
It didn't sound like she was very happy or very pleased when you guys did that.
He was like fuming.
Oh, that's epic. Well, hey, Will, we're coming up on an hour and 15 minutes, and do we have a couple questions, Eric, from the audience that we could maybe get in? Or super
Yeah,
chats,
just
or...
quick. Let's see. We kind of talked about this earlier. Would you ever play Empire State Halo live?
I wish. I like that one.
That's a cool one from Evergreen. Yeah.
We did do it. You know, we did do it years ago. Have to work it out again. Although there's been so much the time, you know, it's like 20 odd years or whatever, you know, you've forgotten how to play it, you know, with all the sound, and you have to dial them all in again and work it all out bit by bit. It's complicated. Can't just like say, oh, we'll do that tonight. You know, we'd have to spend a
I know
Right.
Kate was mentioning experiences when you're a band. Bands from outside the U.S. traveling here get extra catastrophic insurance because it's awful. So I guess she was probably wondering about any instances when you were touring, if you had to go to a hospital or something, and what your experience was like versus England's healthcare system against America's.
I have been in the hospital over there a couple of times, and it was always all right, you know. And I've been a dentist as well, and that was all right. I hurt my foot one time. I've just got this weird like tendonitis thing in my foot. It was killing me. I could hardly walk. And I went to see a doctor in Los Angeles, and they gave me some pills, and in a couple of days it was all right. But I was hobbling. Yeah.
And then Kate said, Ken will tell the story about having to deal with the U.S. healthcare system when Ian broke his leg. I don't know if that was something that happened or...
Fell off the stage in Santa Barbara, the theatre there. I can't remember what it's called. He was dancing around. He fell off the stage, and I don't think he broke his leg, but he hurt his leg. You know, still carried on with the tour. So you know,
Right. Yeah, that was Dave Grohl talked about that in that documentary. He fell off the stage, and I think he broke his leg, and they just built him a throne, and they put a big throne on stage with the Foo Fighters, and he was up there with his guitar with his leg up, and the show must go on.
you know, I've only ever missed one through injury. Myself, I've only ever. I put my hand in the sink. I bought these new knives, really sharp cookery, you know, like chef's knives. And I plunged my hand into the sink and I sliced a big chunk off my finger. And they were going, "Well, just use your other finger." Like, this is my finger.
This is it.
After you, I can't just start adapting the finger. That's me. You know.
So in 40 plus years, you missed.
Really, I cancelled the gig or couldn't do the gig. You know.
Right. Yeah, that's something to think about, right? Your job being a guitarist and washing dishes or just doing whatever you're doing with your hands that we all do. That's a whole nother dimension of that.
Yeah, I had a great big plaster around it. How the hell can I play guitar like that? You know.
You have to get the EBO. The EBO will do the work, like In the Margins. That's another one that I actually got to see you guys play a couple times with.
Yeah, on the tour. We rehearsed it anyway. I don't know whether we actually played it. We did rehearse it. Yeah.
So do you think for the upcoming tour there might be some changes to the set? I know you kind of mentioned it. It's very heavy on the hits, but do you think there might be a couple nuggets that might sneak in?
It's possible. Like you know, Show of Strength is going down well, and what else have we been doing? I can't even remember now. It becomes like a big blur. It's like a car flying past people. Like we're doing a gig on Tuesday. We haven't played for ages, but we're doing a gig on Tuesday. One of our gigs, the one we did in Leeds, we sort of had to cancel halfway through because Mac was ill. So we bailed out on that one, and we're going to go back Tuesday.
Oh, nice.
Finish it off, kind of thing,
Yeah.
But, gonna have to run through the songs a bit tomorrow. Just a live gig or something,
Yeah, I've caught some of the streaming on the Bunnymen Facebook page. It's been really cool to see that you had a DJ opening up for you guys, and then somebody was streaming the gigs. Man, you guys sound awesome. Like you haven't missed a beat in 2 years. They're sounding really good.
Yeah, we've got everyone in the band's amazing. They're really good, and it's a difficult thing to keep going. Like we get a lot of people coming and going. It's hard to keep it sort of real, because we want it to sound like how it, should sound.
Right, like on the as close to the album as can be, or at least
that sort of thing. Yeah, so we were.
What's that instrument you have had up there recently when you do the chorus to the Killing Moon, where you just kind of go, you got it handy.
Yeah. You must know these. It's a.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Loving Spoonful. It's dead easy. It's called an auto harp, and you have like the buttons, like the loads of like all the notes basically across there. And then when you press the buttons, it deadens the notes that aren't in that chord. So it just like leaves them, so that. Oh, Hotel California.
Cool. Yeah, we're actually going tonight to see the Mike Love version of the Beach Boys with Bruce Johnston. Are you a Beach Boys fan at all?
I love the Beach Boys. Yeah. How can you not be?
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah, rock gods,
Yeah, that's it. It's an auto harp. That's an electric one, that. I used that on the first time I used one of them was on the B-side of Back of Love called Fuel. Do you know that track, Fuel?
I've heard of it. I don't know if I know that one so well.
Yeah, it was a B-side. I just did it in probably, I had a little 4-track machine, or it might have been it, and that was a 4-track. We did it on a 4-track. But you can, with them things, you can record 3 tracks, then bounce it onto 1 track. Then you've got 3 more tracks left. Then you do 3 tracks, bounce it onto another, then you've got like 2 more tracks left. So you can actually get, more than 4 tracks on there.
Cool.
So it's like you send it to it. It's like a play. The record is like play and record at the same time.
You have that all going on.
Yeah.
When did you guys do See the Horizon? I think that's a B-side that I really like. I think it was maybe around What Are You Going to Do With Your Life? Do you remember that one?
No.
That has a really cool guitar line, a really cool electric guitar intro that you do. Yeah, that's one of my favorite, I guess, more obscure ones from the 90s.
Yeah, it is. I recognize the title, but that's about it.
Yeah. Bill's like, I don't know that one. Yeah, I think that was from that era, but I know you've kind of said publicly that wasn't your favorite album to record, but I really enjoy Baby Rain and Get in the Car and even Rust, of course. But yeah. Not your favorite album, huh?
It's a bit nice, isn't it?
Candleland Part 2, I've heard it called.
Could be.
Well, I always enjoy it, and I appreciate, and I do a lot of covers in my band, and a lot of the times you kind of have to do songs the crowd wants to hear, even if you don't like it yourself. So I can kind of understand. I can understand where you're coming from.
The ones we play, on the gigs, I love them all. So there's not a problem with that. I play The Cutter and Killing Moon forever. You know, and it's down to the crowd. You know, it's like the crowd love them, so that's good enough for me. Who am I to say, oh, I'm bored with that? You know, it's like, you know, and I'm not bored with it. You know, like every time I'm come to do that solo bit and Killing Moon, I'm like shitting myself. I'm going to mess it up. Like, it's not difficult, but it is difficult if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, it's very, because it's a 12 string on that. And I'll use that finger, that one, and it's like it's very easy to like wrong way or go a bit wrong. You know.
Is that the Jaguar? You play that
No,
one
it was the Vox 12 string,
Vox.
but I've got like a sort of copy of it now, which actually stays in tune better from Phantom Guitars in Portland, and it looks the same, and it sounds pretty much the same, but it's just a lot easier to play than the original one, you know.
Yeah.
That recorded when we did that solo thing. That was recorded just with a mic. It wasn't through an amplifier. So I had like a couple of mics, one here and one over here or something, and I had to play it like in a cramped little vocal booth thing, and it was just recorded like a sort of an acoustic sound, you know. It wasn't through an amplifier.
The solo on the original Killing Moon track from
Yeah,
80.
yeah. But it's got a weird sound that's, you know, it was just acoustically recorded. It's like an electric guitar, but getting recorded acoustically.
Did you do the same thing on My Kingdom?
No, that was that lead on that one was actually through a radio. I had this old radio, still got it. It's called a Blaupunkt. It's a German, I think it's a German radio. Big old valve radio. And in the back, you could plug things in, you know, like a tape recorder or something. You could put it through the radio, use the amplifier in the radio, but you could actually plug in. I discovered that you could plug in a guitar, but it was so, like the gain on it was so high, it made that fizzy sound. It's actually an acoustic guitar, but you know, one of these acoustic guitars with a microphone in it. It was a Washburn. It was. We got given all Washburn guitars around about that time. So, and they had like microphones in them. So they were sort of acoustic, but you could plug them in to put them through an amp. And it was just dead distorted, you know, and I loved that sound. And like what I was trying to do was, you know, that one House Is Not a Motel by Love.
No, I don't think I know that one.
You know, it's like a guitar solo that comes in dead loud and then it just sort of stops. It was kind of like my idea of trying to be like Love, you know. Do you not know Love?
Arthur Lee, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know a lot by them. I know before he passed, one of my friends actually toured with him. Probin Gregory, who plays with the Beach Boys, and Brian Wilson. He got to go out with Arthur Lee and Love, and he's got some cool experiences and stories. But I haven't done a deep dive into their stuff, but I definitely should, along with the early Pink Floyd stuff. I'm going to now.
Yeah, you want to get, well, you might as well start with Forever Changes, which is like one of the best LPs, you know.
Yeah, it's endless.
Will, have you heard from Les or Ian if they've read your book, if they plan on reading it?
Les liked it.
Okay, yeah,
Nice.
We'll go with Good deal. Good deal. Well, yeah, we're coming up on 90 minutes, so Will, I appreciate you, man, taking this time with us and giving us your time and talking to us. You know, before we go here, you want to just tell people where they can find your stuff and what you're up to and how they can follow you and support your work.
I haven't got any stuff. What stuff? The book. You just buy it. Yeah, it's in the shops in America.
It's available where books are sold, everybody.
Like from Third Man Records, they sell it, you know. It's on there. It's Third Man Books, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so cool. And if you're coming to Boston, like you said, in September, man, Jackman Brothers will definitely want to get there and see you guys like we always do. And having a Bunnymen show to look forward to is that's huge.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having a look at that beer as well.
Oh yes, we're going to bring Erica, the owner, and get you some ice cap fire. But it's going to be cold, so it's going to be a good.
Oh, yeah.
It's Bunnymen style, you know. It's going to be obscured.
Like Americans always think we have warm beer. It's nonsense. It's like it's not warm. It's just not freezing cold. You know,
It's room temperature, right?
it's not room temperature. It's but it's not freezing. It's not like as cold as you have there. But in lager and stuff like that, that'd be cold. But bitter it's not warm, but it's not it's cold.
Is that your favorite like a Newcastle, or do you like Pilsners, or what's your favorite type of beer?
Bitter, really. It's called bitter. And, there's a few of them. I like my local pub does Tetley, which is it's always nice. Like they have a creamy head up it. You go to London, you get a beer flat. But I don't know what they do. The way they pour it, it's like we're in the north. You get a head like a bit like a Guinness. That sort of thing. Get like a creamy head.
That sounds delightful.
Yeah.
Beer is definitely my favorite, and we're spoiled because we live right across the street from a really good Thai restaurant, an ice cream shop, and a brewery with really good quality beer. So, yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Post and beam.
Craft beer thing has gone nuts, hasn't it?
Everybody and their mother's got a brewery here in America. IPAs are popular. I'm not really an IPA guy. I love a Kolsch, like Ice Cap Fire. I love lagers, pilsners, and I think here in the States, what maybe you guys call it bitter, we might call it sour. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. I've never come across that. Like I know, like that Sam Adams is sort of like it bitterish a bit, but not quite the same.
They go.
It's not fizz. Bitter isn't fizzy. It doesn't have any fizz to it. It can be creamy and it can be like kind of lively, but it's not like a lager or American style beer where it's like got a fizz to it.
If you can get it over in England, try Sam Adams Porch Rocker. That's a pretty good. It's got like some lemon shandy going on, and on a hot summer day, that's good stuff.
Yeah, my dog's.
All right. Well, I guess on that note, folks, we're going to end things here with Will Sargent, the legend, one of the greatest guitarists walking the earth, an author, musician, someone who's worked on soundtracks, an artist. Will, thank you so much for joining us, and can't wait to see you guys back in the States in a few months.
Nice one. You forgot Jet Washer.
Jet Washer, motorcycle enthusiast.
Jet Washer Drive.
You're gonna open the show with the Jet Washer.
Yeah.
Folks,
cool.
Thanks for tuning in, and please hit that subscribe button and go follow Will. Buy his book. It's an awesome book. And Echo and the Bunnymen, one of the greatest bands, one of my favorite bands. So thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time on Jackman Radio.
Thanks a lot. See ya.
Thank you.